Yo guys, welcome to the Zelda fiction. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was the Mirage Blade Fox? Part 5. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. The Chunin exams finale. It was finally the day of the finals. Many people of influence such as daimyos and other leader were attending. Even the Raikage showed, but he was here for a different purpose. Greeting Raikage-sama, Kazekage-sama the Hokage greeted. I hope your trip was eventful. It was no problem Hokage-sama the Kazekage spoke, I'm sure you would have made the trip in your younger days. It wasn't too bad the Raikage answered, I had to listen to my foolish brother's rap. Hey bro, you know I need to be me here rapped, awfully after all I'm the rapping killer we. That was awful were the thoughts of the Kages. The Raikage sighed, go practice rapping in an abandoned training field. I hear that the Uchiha will be fighting my son the Kazekage spoke, I'm sure that it will be an interesting match. This put both the other Kages on edge, the Kazekage never called his children sons or daughter. I'm more interested in the match between Uzumaki and the Hyuga Raikage spoke and whether he holds up to his end of the bargain or not. All great candidates the Hokage agreed, but we can't forget the other contestants. The proctor began speaking. He used a jutsu that amplified his voice over the crowd. We will begin the first match. Wait, where is Hayate? Naruto asked. Hospital. Sweet. Naruto vs Neji. The two combatants stood ready. Naruto no longer in his disguise and Neji with an arrogant smirk. The real difference was that Naruto now wielded 3 swords. The first was his original sword, the second the Kusanagi and the third, a mystery sword. You should surrender Neji spoke, you are fated to lose. Naruto said nothing, he merely stood there with a smile on his face. Neji didn't know this, but it was the same smile he had when he was told to go all out. Small and calm, holding back the true madness. Naruto drew his sword, the blade caused a glint across Neji's eyes. His Byakugan activated and glaring into the blonde. He then resheathed the sword and never even took a stance. Naruto walked forward causing Neji to take a cautious step back. Never dropping his smile Naruto opened his jacket and stood still. The meaning was obvious, he was giving Neji a free shot. Come on Hyuga Naruto taunted if you're destined to win, then end it here and now. I always thought you were a fool Neji spoke, but it seems you at least understand your fate. 8 trigrams 64 palms. 2 palm. 4 palm. 8 palm. 16 palm. 32 palm. 64 palm. Each blow was to the intended target, not one missed their mark. However Neji added a little change, each palm was aimed for a lethal spot such as the heart. Naruto fell to the ground unmoving. I told you fate could not be changed Neji gloated turning to leave it's over proctor, he won't be getting up. Impressive Hyuga Naruto complimented even with my pain tolerance that hurt. How did you survive that? Neji asked I know each blow hit its mark. He answered as to how I survived, well I don't die easily. Many could vouch for that. Well come, I shall show you why your efforts are in vain, Neji taunted activating his bloodline, my Byakugan shall see through any of your Genjutsu. Well then, come Naruto stood still with his smile still in place. He would allow Neji the next move. Don't mock me Uzumaki Neji snapped. Neji charged toward Naruto letting his anger get the better of him. As he got within range he threw a hand out, intent on hitting a lethal chakra point. Naruto simply sidestepped allowing the arm to sail past his face. Naruto placed his arm inside Neji's guard and reached for his prize. With a quick motion he completed his move. They jumped apart. Naruto stood back with a smile in place. This one was different, it allowed a bit of the madness to show. Neji stood back in confusion, unsure of Naruto's move. Naruto held up his prize. He placed it over his face so that Neji could get a good look at it. It was his Byakugan. It was his eye. I see you Neji Naruto spoke, do you see me? The pain finally made itself noticed. Neji fell to the ground in pain, it was unbearable. He only thrashed around screaming unable to even activate his Byakugan. Winner of TH. No Neji shouted I am fated to win. He forced himself to stand and took the Hyuga family stance. Naruto pulled out a large vial, it was full of a strange looking dark red liquid. He placed the eye inside. Neji charged forward again, this time his guard up. He aimed for the chakra point at Naruto's heart. Naruto's free hand jumped out, it held Neji's just inches away from his heart. From nowhere, several Naruto clones dropped their illusion. They charged toward Neji, sword drawn for the kill. The Hyuga merely smirked. You lose Uzumaki Neji stated. Heavenly spin. It was as its name entitled. Neji began to rotate while gathering and expelling a massive amount of chakra in every direction. This caused a visible sphere of rotating chakra to appear. It knocked away all of the Narutos in opposite directions. Deception slice. The user feigns being attacked. Then using replacement or in Naruto's case Shunshin they then surprised the enemy with an attack from behind. Neji felt himself fall off angle and excruciating pain in his legs. He looked down and saw a sight that filled him with horror. Naruto had severed both of Neji's legs. Neji knew he was at a loss, knew he couldn't win. He opened his mouth to surrender, but nothing came out. Realization hit him like a ton of bricks. Naruto wouldn't let him. Naruto was calmly walking toward Neji, smile still in place. Neji tried to crawl away with his hand. He didn't get far before Naruto placed a foot on his back holding him still. With careful aim Naruto placed his sword into Neji's back. The blade dug through the Hyuga, missing all vital organs. It continued through until the blade was mostly in the ground through Neji. Naruto grabbed a handful of Neji's hair and yanked the Hyuga's head back. Slowly, deliberately savoring the moment, Naruto reached for the remaining eye. He dug into the socket as Neji thrashed, careful not to damage the eye. He had his prize. Now everyone watched as the Hyuga cried out in despair. Trapped in an eternal cage, a cage of darkness. "Kill me," Neji ordered. "Without my eyes, I'm nothing." No, Naruto spoke. "That would be too easy." Naruto gave 3 high-pitch whistles and then a low pitch. Neji felt pain shoot through his body. His bones began to rearrange themselves as their size shrunk. As fast as it came, the pain vanished. The most surprising part was that he could see. But all he saw was the darkness and Naruto. He looked down and saw his reflection. He was a bird, he had become a dove. The cage dove. "This bird cage in your mind is where you'll stay," Naruto spoke. "Forever trapped in the jail you believed you've lived." As Naruto faded away his voice remained. It asked the same question over and over again. In his bird form Neji couldn't answer, not that he had one. "Where is your fate now?" "Balcony." "That was completely cruel," Kurenai stated. "He always was a brutal fighter," Anko stated. "Not that she," Kurenai stated the whistling. "What are you talking about, sensei?" Kiba asked. "What else did the dope do?" "Kiba, it is unwise to insult the one who nearly killed you," Shino stated, causing Kiba to drop his head in shame. It had taken hours in critical condition to keep Kiba from dying. "Well, what is the baka doing?" Ino asked, earning a glare from the former Harems. "Naruto used the ability to cast Genjutsu through a simple whistle," Kurenai explained. "He's been in charge this whole fight." Yuga, no longer in Anbu attire, stated. "I thought Genjutsu users always needed a medium." Kiba spoke. "Where did he learn something on that level?" "Who cares what the baka can do? Sakura Sasuke-kun is much better." "I told shithead not to do it," a voice stated. "But does he listen?" "Fuck no," it continued. "Now I have to listen to the pink-haired bitch." "Yuya, did you really think Naruto would listen?" a second voice asked. "This is Naruto we're talking about." "Wait, you know trained Naruto?" Anko asked. "How? You're foreigners." "Well, first we tried to fuck him," Yuya answered, smirking at the glares. "Then he made a deal with us." "What kind of deal?" "Classified," Samui stated. "You're using him," Anko growled. "No less than you did," Samui stated. This caused them to drop their heads in shame. "We actually made a deal with him," Yuya stated. "He knows the deal and gets something out of it." "Why is he so?" Kurenai was searching for the right words. "Brutal." That's all him," Yuya admitted. "I guess he has some pent-up aggression for some reason." She gave them a smirk. "We've already fixed his other pent-up problem." The former Harems were angered by this, but they didn't know why. "It's over, we have our men," they thought, minus Hana. She was the only one that was single before and after. "Whatever you taught him won't matter," Sakura stated, breaking the spell. "Sasuke will crush him if the baka makes it to Sasuke-kun." "Watch." "Arena." "I won, Proctor," Naruto called. "Alright," he agreed. "Winner Naruto Uzumaki." The audience came for blood and that's what they got. The foreigners were cheering at a great, albeit quick, match. They applauded as if it were any match. The citizens of Konoha saw it completely different. They saw it as the demon brat brutally beating and blinding a respected clan member. They made their opinion known, dwarfing the cheers of the visitors. They booed at Naruto, cursing him, saying he should be disqualified. They even threw stuff at him in hopes of injuring him from the angle. Naruto simply stood there. The smile that he kept the entire fight was long gone. Now he had on a deep scowl and unhidden anger. The shadow under his foot began to grow, silencing the crowd. It stretched until it nearly reached the end of the arena. It began to take form as its light shade darkened, becoming black. Once the form settled, they were horrified at it. It was a giant 9-tailed fox. The pair of large crimson eyes snapped open in the shadow. The shadow fox eyed them, seemingly focused on the former attackers. A large pair of white fangs made themselves known in the smile. It was a smile that promised untold pain to all that saw. "Ruire." The shadow let out a tremendous roar. The power behind it was enough to actually shake the entire stadium. They had the feeling that it wasn't part of his Genjutsu skills. The citizens who lived in the village were even more terrified with the noise. It was the same as the one from 13 years ago, one that they would never forget. The sound of QBE. The shadow retreated back into Naruto. He made his exit in silence. All of the foreigner were just confused at the action of both Naruto and the villagers. None of the villager were brave enough to make a sound. The proctor broke the silence. Next match begins now. Kage booth. Well, I'll be the Raikage, thought he actually got them. I'm sorry Naruto, the Hokage thought you shouldn't have to deal with this. Soon Sasuke-kun. Balcony. Naruto made his way up to the balcony. He saw his former Heims arguing with his new ones. For the last time, I have no feelings for Naruto Kurenai, shouted. None of us do. We paid our debt, Anko growled. We moved on. Hey shithead, Tayu, you called nice match, but why drag it out? The former Heims turned to the one she called. They paled at who they saw, Naruto. It was obvious that he had heard them yelling. They lowered their heads in shame, unable to meet his blindfolded gaze. He had on the same smile from the beginning of the fight. It was unnerving to all who saw it, even his new Heims. It seemed that their words hadn't affected him in the slightest. Well, there was some bad blood between me and the Hyuga, Naruto answered, not missing a beat. We've settled it. He walked forward, not even acknowledging his former Heims. Leaning in, he shared a gentle kiss with Samui and a rougher one with Tayuya. For some reason this gripped at his former Heims' hearts. Bando Kiba stated, you move fast. That was a completely unnecessary match, Tenten stated teary-eyed. You didn't need to go that far. You're right, Tenten, I didn't, Naruto stated, but I wanted to. This sent a shiver down their spines, a shiver of fear. For once, Naruto welcomed it from the former Heims. It's been cool, Naruto-kun, Samui stated, but now it's time for business. Samui stepped forward and handed Naruto a scroll. Naruto simply took it and handed her a scroll in the eyes. Hey Baka, Pink Harpy shouted, why did you trade? None of your business, Aruno, Naruto answered. Actually, it's all of ours, Yugao stated. You just traded a village asset. Even if it is useless now, Kurenai added. I am within my rights as a shinobi, Naruto explained. I defeated Niji and salvaged what I found useful, he continued. I'm also able to keep them operational thanks to my blood. He was right. A shinobi is able to personally keep anything they take from a defeated opponent. The rules never specified what kind of fight, minus a spar. It was a rule created by the Uchiha. They also knew Naruto's healing blood was powerful. It could heal almost anything from physical to biological. Healing useless eyes weren't that far off on the list. Use it well, Samui ordered. I will, Naruto promised, after I make some Naruto modifications. He disappeared in a shunshin. A Naruto modification. Many were really terrified. Kage booth. Surely we can give them a little more time. The Kazekage tried it as an important match. Nonsense, the Raikage spoke. A shinobi not on time isn't a shinobi. I agree, the Hokage spoke. Proctor. Since Sasuke Uchiha isn't here, he began. Gaara wins by default. This was greeted by a round of boos and jeers. These are Kage orders, the proctor spoke. Take it up with them. Silence, that's right, respect the Kages. Tenkuro vs Shino. Panin. Shikamaru vs Tamari. Panin. Naruto vs Gaara. Gaara entered the arena using a sand shunshin as their match began. He would finally fight someone who could make him feel alive. As soon as he arrived. Come down, Uzumaki, Gaara called. Face me, or are you afraid? The sky over the arena was filled with a red mist and the sound of laughter could be heard. It began to shape itself into a fiery-like form many Konoha adults knew. The head of the QB in all its glory. You dare challenge me? Naruto's voice asked, filling the area, but not being seen. You dare to challenge fear? I am feared, Gaara spoke, looking for Naruto. True, Naruto agreed, but there is a difference between our methods. And that it? Gaara asked. The fox gave a sadistic smirk before opening its mouth. From inside, Naruto walked out onto the tongue and stood with all attention on him. Presentation. The fox closed its mouth and began to dissolve, Naruto along with it. The mist began to snake itself around toward the ground. It finally finished reforming into Naruto. Both contestants ready? The proctor asked, earning a nod. Beg. A small puff of smoke filled the arena, a shunshin. Inside of it stood Kakashi and Sasuke, who wore a new outfit and a sword. Yo, are we late? Kakashi asked. Yes, the proctor shouted. Sasuke has been disqualified. What? I'm an Uchiha, Sasuke stated. I can't be disqualified. Well, you were, Naruto stated. I need to begin my match. So you made it past Niji, Sasuke stated. You know what, maybe I should pay your Heims a visit unless you give me your spot. Naruto let loose a lot of killer intent. The action filled his former Heims with an unknown hope and his new ones with jealousy. What he said next changed that, like a knife to the heart. You stay away from Samui and Tayuya, Naruto spoke. I'm talking about those so-called mistresses, Sasuke gasped. Oh, them, Naruto stopped. The intent, you can have them. Naruto, Kakashi spoke. I don't think you are ready for a promotion, maybe you should. Fox glare. Kakashi was on a nice beach. He no longer had a care in the world, not as a shinobi or a civilian. He had lived a long and happy life, he even made a legacy for himself. Now he could finally relax. He looked out onto the beach to watch the sunset. There were two figures running at each other, each at a different end of the beach. It was Guy and Lee. They weren't wearing their usual green spandex. Instead they were wearing green lingerie. They embraced in a horrible hug. You can thank Phoenix for your nightmares. Real world. Takashi fell to the ground in despair. I love the long-lasting effect of mental scars, he thought. He turned to Sasuke, who backed away. I demand his place, Sasuke shouted, or else. Sleep. What? Naruto asked innocently. He'll wake up in a minute to see me fight with power he'll never possess, and my finale. Just begin. The proctor grabbed the two down Sharingan users and ran. Naruto backed up a few feet and drew his first sword. The fox won, and with great force he shoved it into the ground. He left it. Naruto decided to run forward. Gaara's hand formed three snake-like pillars and attacked, charging Naruto. He simply swerved his way through. Naruto faded it out and appeared in front of Gaara, the kusanagi drawn. He attempted to cut Gaara but was blocked by the sand. The sand pushed Naruto back, never relenting. As he was pushed further, he lost his footing and fell over. Off guard, the sand began to cover itself around Naruto, head to toe. Sand coffin. The sand made a coffin-like prison around Naruto. Sand burial. The sand collapsed on itself. The force behind it crushed the blonde inside. The sound was very wet and echoed in the audience's ears. Balcony. Naruto. His former Harem screamed. Serves him right, Sakura and Ino stated. You bitches need to be quiet, Yuya stated. Shithead isn't dead. You should have more faith, Samui stated. Watch, it's about to become real cool. Fight. Is that it? Gaara asked. I expected a challenge. And you'll get it, Naruto stated. Gaara was in shock. How is he still alive? He asked himself. Naruto was indeed alive. He was in fact standing right by the clump of sand that was supposed to be holding him. How? That'd be telling. Naruto began to run in circles around Gaara. The copies of the blonde began to form and began to run in both directions around Gaara as well. Gaara eyed each one, trying to tell them apart. Each Naruto struck from a different angle. Unfortunately, the sand got in his way. It protected Gaara from the real Naruto while the others passed through harmlessly. So he doesn't control that defense, Naruto, though. Good to know. Naruto put a bit of distance between himself and Gaara. He began leveling the kusanagi with Gaara. What are you doing, Uzumaki? Gaara asked. I think it's time. The blade extended at untold strength and speed to wake the demon. The blade had pierced Gaara's sand defense, and Gaara. What is this? Is this? Gaara went silent in disbelief. Blood, my blood. Gaara became encased in sand. Balcony. No way, Tamari whispered. That blade, Yuga whispered. Fight. Naruto leveled the sword into a new stance. He had been waiting for this match, his opponent. He was going to fight the demon. The sand cocoon shattered. He had a new form. It looked similar to Naruto's form. It seemed that the sand had melded itself into Gaara's flesh. His face was half demonic raccoon-like, and his right arm was a giant claw. Not impressed, Naruto spoke. I can do that too. Naruto ran forward and attempted to impale Gaara. His arm was caught in several ropes of sand. They began to squeeze the blonde's arm before crushing and tearing it off. Naruto fell back in shock and pain. Even with his pain tolerance, he had a limit. Having an arm torn off makes one hit the limit fast. The sand then snaked itself around Naruto's leg. With a powerful yank, Naruto was slammed into the ground. The process repeated itself over and over before tossing Naruto. Gaara ended it by swarming the blonde in sand. Sand burial. Naruto appeared by the sand unharmed but exhausted. When was the last time I was this tired? How are you alive? Gaara asked, never waiting for an answer. He sent several spiked tendrils of sand toward Naruto. Naruto made no attempt to move as they impaled him and carried his body off. He spoke with a bloody smile, the name of the technique. Izanagi. Naruto appeared next to the traveling sand where he once stood. He was unharmed but seemed even more exhausted than before. I should have known I'd need a demon to fight a demon, Naruto laughed. He raised his blindfold and looked into his sword. He eyed his reflection. Shin no Ippo. Stage 3. He was fear, and fear feared nothing. A massive fox-like head formed over him. It gave the citizens attending the battle a large smile. The fear in the area grew as the fox head entered Naruto. Naruto felt the power enter him. The power he had gathered thought the fear he'd gathered. He was encased in a slight red coat of chakra. It was like a second skin to him, more free. Gaara felt the oppressive power. It was truly overwhelming. This was what he wanted. He would finally have his challenge. 1 minute the blonde was across the field, the next he was beside Gaara. This high-speed movement caused Gaara to jump back a few feet, but not fast enough. The blonde raised his sword and impaled Gaara in the head. The one-tailed container felt his heart stop. Then it was over. They were back in the arena as if it never happened. Naruto drew his mystery sword. He gave it a mighty swing and unleashed a massive wave of wind. Even with his sand defense, he knew he had to dodge. Luckily he did, or it would have tore Gaara to pieces. Naruto came running from the side of and took another swing at him. This time he unleashed a wave of water. It hit Gaara dead on, knocking him off balance, but did little to no damage. Naruto appeared above Gaara and raised his sword. Instead of aiming for Gaara, he impaled the sword into the wet ground. A stream of lightning was unleashed. It shocked both of them, but with Naruto's endurance, the wet Gaara, he ended up taking most of the damage. As they stumbled apart, Gaara's sand began acting on its own. It crawled up Naruto's left leg, encasing it, while doing the same with his right arm. The sand around his arm began to squeeze until his arm was completely shattered. With a mighty heave, the useless limb was ripped from his very body. The blood and roar of pain was enhanced by the silence in the audience. It seemed most of Konoha was pleased that the demon brat was getting what he deserved. The select few that didn't felt like saving Naruto. The sand around his leg began to tug at Naruto. Instead of trying to dismember him, it began to drag him. He was pulled through the ground and tossed into the arena wall. He was then lifted into the air, high above the arena. With the barest of gestures from Gaara, the sand brought Naruto down, fast and hard. The scene was blocked by the sand and dust. From the dust, various elements shot out. They ranged from fire, lighting and air. Gaara raised his sand claw and let it take the blunt of the attacks. They pushed Gaara back, but weren't powerful enough to break his sand guard. The smoke finally cleared and there stood Naruto in full health, as if he hadn't just been dismembered. The sand raised itself and began to take form. It was like a snake in body, but with the one-tail's upper body. It dived toward Naruto like a snake taking down easy prey. Naruto raised the Kusanagi, and the blade extended a great length. With a mighty swing, he cut the sand snake raccoon down the middle. Using his second sword, he gave a swing, scattering the sand with air. This was a bad idea. The scattered sand began to spin around Naruto as if a tornado. It came to a sudden halt as the sand began to come together around Naruto. There was a visible shake of the now large sand dune as the blonde was crushed inside. "What's next, Uzumaki? What would you throw at me next?" Gaara called in mad excitement. "Throw it all at me, give me your best." Naruto stood on top of the sand-made mound. His smile was full of equal, no, even greater madness than Gaara. They stared at each other for a moment in anticipation. Alright. Gaara wanted everything, he would get it. Naruto's second sword began to vibrate because of the lighting chakra. The lighting wasn't being released in a wave like expected. This time Naruto was going to let it build. He would let it build to its limit, then he would allow it to release. He laughed. This was going to be a completely suicidal move. Just the way he liked it. Balcony. That shithead wouldn't really do it. Tayuya was visibly shaking. Would he? What? Sasuke asked. What is he going to do? Tell Sasuke-kun to fangirls ordered now. He would. Samui stated. Fight. Naruto ran toward Gaara at full speed. He was going to end this fight with his next move. His blade was vibrating so fast it was barely visible. His entire body began to glow from the built-up lighting. If it wasn't for his extra coating of chakra, he was sure he'd be dead. Even the insane Gaara knew that this technique was dangerous. He raised his sand and welded it into an uncontrolled ground beneath Naruto. Because of this, Naruto began to lose his balance. Only one thing to do. He threw the blade. Is he insane? Were the thoughts that filled the air. He is. The blade didn't even need to hit the ground. Nearly a second after he released the blade, all of the energy freed itself. Gaara did the only thing he could. Using the sand spread beneath their feet, he formed a well of spike-like rods. All of the energy flew straight to the sand in powerful current. Gaara had to actually strain to keep control. It was a good thing sand was not only a conductor but an insulator as well. Too bad he was in a fight with Naruto. "Hello, Gaara," a dark voice called, scaring even him. Naruto stood there. His sword recharged, but this time he was using fire. It had reached the point that the flames were white hot. It was a decoy. Gaara realized. "No," he shouted, "I won't let you end my existence." Gaara commanded the electrically charged sand toward Naruto. It created a temporary wall between the two, and I mean temporary. Naruto literally burst through the sand. He hit Gaara across his deformed face with the flat side of the Kusanagi sword. The force of the blow knocked Gaara a few feet into the air. As Gaara fell, time seemed to actually slow down for him. What he saw was Naruto pointing his heated sword in his face. Burn. And burn he did. The flames erupted with such power it nearly knocked Naruto over. The flames took less than a second to completely consume Gaara and even his sand. When the flames finally subsided, all that was left was glass and Gaara. He was trapped in his own so-called ultimate defense, frozen in the sand melted into his skin. The only part not in glass was his nose to breath. Only his eyes were able to move, and they showed the fear and pain, mostly fear, he was experiencing. Naruto made his way toward the terrified boy. Fox glare. "Sleep well, Gaara, you deserve it." Deep inside the One-Tail's container's mind, the One-Tail's roared. He was trapped inside a hourglass, forever shifting. After a minute it was obvious he wouldn't be able to free himself. Winner Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto stared at the crowd who watched him in disbelief. Their shock and fear was amazing, it was finally enough. Naruto walked calmly to his sword in long determined strides. He grabbed it and gave a flashy swing, it was time for the grand finale. He looked to the crowd and spoke. I challenge the laws of nature and reason, by summoning the power of fear herself he raised the sword and impaled into the ground QB exist. All of his power began to disappear. The ground began to shake and the center of the arena split open. There was a mighty roar, one that struck fear in all but Naruto. It was not of hate but of joy, the joy of finally being free. Phantom-like flames erupted like a tower from the splitting earth. The phantom flames began to crawl toward Naruto and spin around him. They merged and began to take form. Out of the flames stepped a woman. She had crimson red hair and eyes that matched with a piercing gaze. She stood at a tall 6 feet with a powerful and imposing, but beautiful body. Behind her were 9 swirling tails, 9 fox tails. Naruto spoke to the new arrival. His voice was low, but it echoed throughout the audience. His words frightened all who heard him utter them. Welcome to reality QB. Naruto laughed. Welcome to reality my Haim. Orochimaru, like everyone else, looked in fear and disbelief. How is this possible? The QB should be sealed or the brat dies. He couldn't fathom how Naruto freed the demon. Naruto looked to the false Kage. The smile on the blonde's face made even Orochimaru's blood run cold. It was obvious the blonde knew who he was under the disguise. I have to do it now. He made the signal. Whereas Tayuya Kamimura will have to sub for her. With great swiftness he attacked the Raikage. Being caught off guard he was able to knock him out of the balcony. It wouldn't kill him, but it would serve its purpose. Now it's just me and Sarutobi. There was a large explosion as a massive Genjutsu filled the arena. Ninjas from both the Sound Asand village began to enter. The civilian audience fell asleep while the shinobi engaged in life and death battles. The invasion had begun. Arena. Should we get involved? Naruto asked. I haven't stretched in a long time. QB stated. It'll be good to gather my own fear again. As she spoke these words Naruto's Heims, former that is, entered the arena beside him. With various weapons his former Heims attacked the fox demon. With a simple flick of her tails, QB knocked the mistresses down. She glared at them with contempt, they felt themselves freeze up under her hate-filled gaze. They turned to Naruto, their eyes pleading him for help. He gazed back with a smile. Naruto, what were you thinking? Hana asked. This is the QB, why did you free her? Why would I leave one of my Heims imprisoned? He asked. I could never do such a thing. Your Heim Kurenai stuttered. How, why? She has always been there Naruto stated. Since the beginning, I've always had her. And you always will. QB spoke before leaning into a kiss. Now, time for some fun. Shadow Fox Hunt. From beneath her feet her shadow began to act. Her shadow began to shape itself into a human-like fox and crawl around under their feet. It began to spread out in 100 different directions in a web-like fashion. Once they reached a target they rose from the ground in front of them as silently as a thief. Raising a shadowy claw the fox figures took a swipe at the shinobi in front of them. Their claws passed harmlessly through. That did not mean there was no damage done. Each figure that felt the cold touch of the shadow froze in mid-battle. Many were cut down, but others were left alone out of worry of a trap. They began to convulse before falling to the ground. Dead. Okay, that was truly amazing. Naruto complimented. I hope you'll teach me that. Oh, I'll teach it to you. QB promised, and so much more. There was a large explosion from inside the barrier on the Kage booth. The force of it drew the attention of everyone present. I guess we should help. Naruto stated. I'll help the old man, you can have the enemy armies. QB seemed delighted at that. Let the fear rise, she spoke, let the blood shed and paint the ground red. She vanished into thin air and screams began to grow. Naruto Yugao called. You can't. She stopped when he glared. He walked past them, never bothering to give them a second glance. This isn't the Naruto we know and know, focus. They watched him go toward the Kage level battle. They followed after to see the upcoming confrontation. Kage booth. Naruto arrived to see the Anbu squad stand outside and watch the continued clash. Useless Naruto though, and he was right. They seemed to be making no effort to help their village leader in his battle. Why aren't you helping? Naruto asked. We can't get through the barrier. Brat 1 Anbu answered. Excuses, Naruto stated. Walking to the barrier Naruto raised a Kusanagi blade and swung at the barrier. He used every ounce of force he could muster to cut through the barrier, it seemed like he was sawing through it. After forming an entrance big enough he jumped through. The Anbu squad still made no effort to enter after him to help the Hokage. Once inside the barrier resealed itself trapping everyone either in or out. The mistresses arrived in time to see this. Hey old man, Naruto called. Hey Orochimaru. Naruto Sarutobi called. Get out of here, it's too. Sorry old man, but no can do. Naruto stated. You're on your last leg against Orochimaru, the first and second Hokage. He looked at his leader. It's time for you to sit down, I'll handle it from here. Naru. He stopped from a look from Naruto. Old man Naruto spoke, either let me do this or I'll make it rain paperwork for 500 moon cycles. Good luck, and be careful, Sarutobi called, before whispering, you're going to need it. He pulled out his pipe and his special smoking brand. Hello old friend, I've missed you. Your brat will need more than luck, Orochimaru spoke. I was talking to you, Orochimaru. Brat, Orochimaru growled before calming. You know, I actually planned for you. He began smirking. You were a fool to come in here, now you're trapped. Oh really? This ought to be good. I see the other way around, Naruto smirked. I'm not trapped with you, you're all trapped in here with me. Orochimaru snapped his fingers and his plan was put into motion. The Sound Four left their places at the barrier, each leaving a clone in their former place. They took a spot next to their leader. The revived Kages took a position on either side of the blonde, each waiting for an order. It was given. The members of the Sound Four began to activate their curse marks. They entered the first stage. Naruto took a step back as Kimimaro charged forward, two bone blades in hand. Naruto swiftly dodged each attack to the face by inches. To the enemy it felt like miles. This continued until Jirobo stepped behind Naruto and punched the blonde from behind. Or at least he tried to. The blonde disappeared on contact with the fist. He reappeared beside them. We won't give you a chance to use that technique, Seiken spoke, and you're doomed without it. The second Hokage ran toward Naruto, already weaving hand signs. From the spike in chakra, Naruto knew it would be a powerful technique. Water style. Water shock wave. The spiraling vortex of water formed from thin air. It exploded into a type of water wave. Naruto jumped back, but to his surprise the water followed him. So this is the power of the second. He drew his elemental sword to defend. That was when he felt the spike in chakra from his side. From his both sides a pillar of wood rose from the ground and attacked him. He tried to move only to be constricted. The wood was wrapped around his feet. It collided with the water jutsu. The blonde was in the center of the collision. Izanagi. Naruto stood unharmed. The smile from before plastered on his face. Spider sticking spit. Hidemaru spit out a long web-like substance toward Naruto. The blonde raised Kusanagi to defend himself as the web came in contact with the blade. Hidemaru pulled the web with all 6 of his arms, hoping to remove the weapon. Unfortunately, he didn't know Naruto trained with Guy in strength. Naruto was able to keep the sword even as Hidemaru struggled against him. Do not release him, Kimimaro ordered. Dance of the Clematis. Flower. The bones from Kimimaro's arm began to extend and enclose, forming a type of lance. He charged Naruto in hopes of impaling him. Naruto raised a still restricted Kusanagi and blocked the lance at its very point. It's good to have an indestructible sword. They held in a power struggle, neither giving or gaining. Jirobo jumped into the air and focused his chakra into a punch. He was coming down with the force of a boulder. From both sides, Seiken and Yukin, now separate, charged him as well. Naruto drew his elemental sword and took a swing toward the ground. He unleashed pure lighting with no focus or any kind of control. It ran free in all directions, forcing all of the attacking shinobi back. He even freed the Kusanagi from the web. He looked at his reflection in his sword. No, Orochimaru shouted, stop him. Shin no Ippu. Stage 3. Too late, the technique was started. Infinite darkness technique. Naruto felt his vision go completely black. It seemed his was the only one because he could still hear the footstep of the others. From the chakra he felt, it was the second Hokage attacking. He raised both his swords. Thank you, Zabuza. Shadow clone jutsu. 8 clones appeared. 8 point they spoke for all to hear: larynx, spine, lungs, liver, jugular, subclavian artery, kidney, heart. He named which will I go for. Once the second Hokage was in range, the Naruto clones struck. Their blades each hit one of the lethal point they named with great accuracy. They wouldn't kill the dead, but it was enough to stop him and break the game jutsu. They each drew a high-powered explosive tag. They placed them on various parts of the second Hokage and ignited them. With great strength he kicked the time bomb toward the enemies. Dodge. Unfortunately, they decided to listen to him. The second Hokage went off in a glorious explosion. Outside. How did he do that? Kurenai asked. The second Hokage's skill in gain jutsu is second only to his water techniques. We never taught him to fight on that level, even we can't fight on that level. That was the silent killing technique Yugao stated. Mamachi must have taught him. What else can he do? Hana asked. How powerful has he become without our help? You're going to see, a voice behind them spoke. They turned to see Samui, Tayuya, Zabuza and the QB. Inside. Spider sticking spit. Instead of his sword, Hidemaru aimed for Naruto. The blonde sheathed his elemental sword, freeing his hand, and sidestepped and grabbed the strands of web. With a powerful tug he pulled Hidemaru toward him. Raising his blade he made 2 cuts, the first separating the web from Hidemaru. The second cut to the spider-like man across the chest before kicking him away. With the web in hand he swung it like a lasso, catching the second Hokage and pulled him forward. He cut the restrained water user, stunning him before tossing his into a web-covered bundle. He felt the chakra spike behind him. Lightly leaning to the side, he avoided the bone lance from Kimimaro. Because of the momentum that he continued to charge. This exposed his back to Naruto, who cut him deeply. Orochimaru watched in disbelief. How could this child have such power? He no longer even has his demon. The Sannin could take it no more. He entered the fight as well. 10,000 snakes wave. From Orochimaru's mouth a massive amount of snakes crawled. He no longer had the Kusanagi to add, but his snakes were still venomous. Naruto raised his elemental sword and swung. The fire here at least wasn't as hot as he had hoped, but the widespread range made up for it. The snakes were ashes before they covered half the distance to him. Orochimaru stared Naruto in the eyes. That was a mistake he would soon regret. Shin no Ippu. Stage 2. The snake Sannin froze in place, unable to breathe. He knew what Naruto was saying. Don't interfere and enjoy the show. No choice, he began to break the illusion on his lungs. The split Yukin ran toward the distracted blonde, forgetting he was a censor. Naruto turned to him before he got too close. The blonde raised his sword to strike the twin down. Wood style. Silent strangle jutsu. Naruto was caught off guard as the wood surrounded him. Nearly every part of his body but one arm was restricted. Unfortunately, that hand held Kusanagi. If he let go, he would be unarmed. He was trapped. Demon parasite jutsu. Naruto turned to Yukin. The twin grabbed the blonde and began to meld into him. What is this? Naruto asked. Like it? Yukin asked. It's my bloodline, he bragged. It allows me to destroy your body on a cellular level. Is that all? Naruto asked. Yukin felt pain erupt in his melded body. It was like something was tearing him apart, just like his technique. What did you do? My body has the ability to destroy all foreign ailments such as parasites. Naruto stated. You are being torn apart on a cellular level. He smirked. You are literally being given a taste of your own medicine. Yukin did the smart thing. It was also the only thing he could do. He cancelled his jutsu and separated himself from Naruto. Seiken, seeing his brother in pain, ran to his side. Naruto, using Kusanagi, cut through the wood. It was pretty easy with an unbreakable sword. Seiken charged the now free Naruto with Yukin trailing him. Naruto took a stance to attack them once they were in range. They were finally in range when Naruto spoke. Invert. Seiken heard the blonde speak. He knew the technique. Turning on a dime, he impaled the kunai into his victim. However, it wasn't Naruto. The blonde was actually standing to his side, not that Seiken cared. It was Yukin. His brother. The brother. Yukin gasped in betrayal. Why? Seiken screamed. It was scream of pain, not pain of flesh. He would have relished in that. What he felt was a pain of the heart. In his blind anger, he charged Naruto only to be cut down as well. Well, Orochimaru, Naruto spoke. What else do you have? Orochimaru was at a complete loss against Naruto. His best shinobi were being tossed around like rag dolls, while the Kages were indisposed, and he couldn't interfere. The QB was free, decimating his army. Sarutobi was resting, soon to be back on his toes. Time for my escape plan, he thought. Enough. Orochimaru called. We are leaving. But Orochimaru-sama, Kidomaru called. We can beat him, all we have to do is enter our Seiko. You fool, Orochimaru shouted. Look and see, he pointed to Naruto. The brat hasn't even left that very spot since this battle began. Do you think I'll just let you go? Naruto asked. Those 6 words won't work this time. No, Orochimaru spoke. You let us all go for this. He pulled out a scroll with a spiral crest on it. When the third Hokage saw the scroll, he began to choke on his pipe. Now Naruto was curious on the scroll. What is that? Naruto asked. If the old man acts like that from a scroll. This, Naruto, he motioned, is the sword style used by your very own mother. Naruto felt everything stop. The sword style of his mother? Give it to me. Naruto demanded. Only on one condition, Orochimaru spoke. You do not pursue us. He could escape the other ninja, but even I can't escape a censor without difficulty. What do you say? Why shouldn't I kill you all and take it? Naruto asked. Revenge, he answered simply. Against Anko for her betrayal to you, he smirked. Imagine, my death is the one thing she wants most in this world. They turned to see her watching them outside the barrier. Take that from her, and you'll have your payback tenfold. Don't listen to him, Naruto. Sarutobi screamed. He'll say anything to save his own skin. Or are you trying to save your own sensei? Orochimaru asked. Where do you think I got this scroll, Naruto? Naruto didn't answer. It was here, guarded by the Hokage. He spat. He kept it from you this whole time. Don't listen. Did you have it? Naruto asked coldly. He knew he couldn't lie, not to a censor. I did. He admitted. I was going to give it to you, but it was missing. When were you going to give it? Orochimaru asked. You could have given it to him at any time. I only stole it earlier this week. He stated. I know you can tell when someone is lying to you. I am not. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen, the professor, couldn't come up with an excuse. Everything Orochimaru had said was completely true. Naru. Set the scroll down and leave. Naruto ordered. You have my word, I will not pursue. No. Anko shouted from outside the barrier, don't do this Naruto, kill him. She begged. You promised me you would kill him, are you going back on your word? She froze on the level of killing intent directed toward her. It was coming from Naruto, who never dropped his smile. I promised my THBehemoth that I would kill him, Naruto stated. You are no longer my Hime, so I have no need to kill him for you. He spat. I will however kill him. Eventually he turned to the snake San and it will be at a later date. He turned to Anko. It won't be for you, it'll just be so it can be said I don't go back on my word. Anko couldn't believe the words she was hearing. Naruto was going to let Orochimaru, the one who made her life miserable, go. Naruto, she growled, I hate you. She knew that would have killed the old Naruto. Okay, he stated confused, is that supposed to hurt me? The feeling's mutual. But it wouldn't phase this one. Orochimaru sat the scroll on the ground and moved back a great distance. He had the clones to disperse and the barriers drop. Just like that, the snake Sannin and his team were off. The Anbu chased after them, but they were stopped by Kidomaru's web. They finally do something and they fail. He actually wasn't all that surprised. We have one of the sound shinobi, Hana stated, pointing to Tayuya right here. She's not the enemy, Naruto stated. She's on my side. She's a sound shinobi, which means she works for Orochimaru. Anko growled, she is the enemy. Anko and the Anbu moved in to surround Tayuya in an attempt to capture her. They were blocked by Samui, Zabuza and QB. Stand down Mamachi and Anbu dressed Yuga ordered, and this isn't your problem Kumo-nin. Actually it will be in 4, 3, 2, 1 Naruto spoke. Hello Raikage-sama. Hello kid, the Raikage spoke. That was amazing. Thank you. Raikage-sama and Anbu called, please order you shinobi to stand down. Samui. What are you doing? He asked. This is something I'd expect from Kurai. I'm sorry Raikage-sama. Samui bowed. I was just protecting my fiance's fiance. Okay, I wait, what? He exclaimed, more than asked. When did you get a fiance? Who is he? Naruto. Samui called, I'd like my fiance by my side. Naruto walked over and stood between her and Tayuya. Both Samui and Tayuya leaned down and kissed him on the cheek. QB walked over and got a kiss in as well. Every shinobi was thrown through a loop. You're getting married? Hana asked sadly. The mistresses of Konoha felt as if their heart had been torn out and stabbed. They had never thought Naruto would move on so fast. Not after all they had been through. Has he moved on already? Has he forgotten us? Samui, the Raikage shouted, how could you marry him? That wasn't the order. Order? The Hokage asked. I'll explain, old man, Naruto spoke. These two were ordered to seduce me and bear my children. That earned some glares. I gave them an alternative which all both were happy with. How does that involve marriage? That was for us, Naruto spoke. After some dating we got drunk and, though you couldn't get drunk. Anko spoke, all the drinking they did. I'm sure I was drugged. Strangely Samui was the one who avoided eye contact and woke up engaged. He smiled fondly. I kind of want to see where it goes. Well, I'm cancelling it, the Raikage shouted. I will not lose one of my best jounin that easily. I'm sorry, Naruto. Sarutobi spoke, but I can't allow your marriage to either of these women. How about another deal? Naruto offered to the both of you. We're listening, the Raikage answered. The secret to defeating your worst enemy, Naruto spoke. You don't mean the Kages saw hope? Yes, the secret to defeating. Defeating what? Anko asked. An enemy to two Kages. Paperwork, Naruto finished. The Kages fell to their knees. This was the moment they had hoped actually existed, now they would be free. The Jounin and Anbu couldn't believe what they were seeing. Here were two Kage leaders bowing to a genin. Tell us, Naruto-sama, they begged, we'll do anything. I have many more Kunoichi and Kumo, the Raikage spoke. I can. No, Naruto spoke, all amusement gone. I'm happy with Samui. He looked at the Kages. All I want is for them to be free to come and go as they please, as my wives. Deal. Many couldn't believe that Naruto had just turned down a harem the men wouldn't have. That was one of the few traits what made him desirable to the Ice Queen. They missed it, they wished their boyfriends were like that. Naruto Hiruzen spoke. As well as this has been, there is matters we need to attend. He sighed with the council. Can I? No, the Hokage stopped him. Whatever it is, no, he shouted. They need what little of their mind working intact. Fine, Naruto grumbled before smirking. Let's meet the council. We have much to discuss. We do have much to discuss, Hokage-sama. He turned to the Hokage, who flinched, especially concerning my mother. I have gathered you all to discuss some important matters. The third spoke. Matter concerning the myself, the village, and he hated this part. Naruto. Kill the demon. He should be banished. Silent, Sarutobi growled in a low voice. He will not be executed or banished. He turned to the door. Come in. Naruto walked in with confidence. The council hated a fox on his head. He made his way toward the Hokage and bowed. He turned to the council. Alright, let's get this over with. Naruto spoke. You brat, a fat civilian shouted. You will show us respect. Respect is earned, Naruto snapped, not given from simple names or titles. We are the council, we stand ab. Yeah Naruto out loud here is the new pecking order he pointed to them. It goes you, the dirt, the worms inside of the dirt, that guy in the bandages Danzo Tsume-san, the Hokage, then himself then me, any questions? You demon, I. The kunai was lodged into his skull. What, he broke the third's law. Now that we have gotten that out of the way the Hokage side it's time we got to business. Yes one of the elders spoke it has come to our attention that you have abilities not taught by your sensei and gave village secrets to Kumo. I didn't give Kumo anything Naruto stated I traded with him. And what did you trade? Hiashi asked, having a good idea. And what did you receive? I traded the eyes of Niji Hyuga Naruto answered earning a volley of shouts for one of the 4 treasures of the Rikudo himself. That silenced them. You lie once Akira Haruno shouted the sage's weapons wouldn't be traded for eyes that won't work. Are you related to Sakura Haruno? Naruto asked. She is my daughter. I see where she gets her voice from he stated earning a laugh from many you are right, they wouldn't trade them for that, so I fixed them. Impossible Hiashi stated once the cage bird seal is on a placed branch member, it destroys the eyes if removed. He was so sure no amount of medical chakra could heal them. Who said anything about medical chakra? Naruto asked I'm talking about medical blood. Medical blood? Danzo asked what else is he capable of? My blood has near healing properties Naruto stated, how do you think I survived those beatings as a child with no mark? No one answered, but they thought the same the demon because of that Kumo can experiment with a healthy pair of eyes. The civilian side of council began ranting that the demon should be killed for giving village secrets. The shinobi side that hated him began yelling on harvesting his blood. Shut up or I'll turn you all into a trees. Naruto stated, they heard what happened. So they can restore blindness. Danzo asked what else can they do, what are the limits? He needed to know how far the boy could take Konoha. I can heal nearly anything if I put enough blood to it. Naruto stated I would offer to heal you as thanks, but I think you want to keep them. Danzo nodded. Brat Sakura called what treasure did you get and where is it? It was the banana palm fan he answered I have it sealed into my new sword. He held the weapon for them to see now all of its power is in here. Then we the council demand that you hand the fan over Sakura shouted and the Kusanagi blade you stole from Orochimaru. The civilians agreed Sasuke could use it more than you. No. We the council. I will eat you Naruto stated feeling the room with fear I will use Akimichi seasoning, roast you and then eat you. Silence works every time. These swords are mine, understand? He glared at the civilians, the only way to get these are through my cold, dead and unmoving corpse. He increased the glare you're all welcome to try but know this, he increased the fear I will come at you with razor blades and lemon juice rotten lemon juice. Bra Naruto-san Hiashi spoke, could your blood heal Niji? The kitty answered, but I won't allow it, not with my blood. Why are you leaving him like that? Hiashi asked, he is a great Hyuga and could help the clan, and he means nothing to you. For Hinata he answered I have no romantic feelings for her, but what he did was below even trash. He looked the civilians in the eyes turning on a family member who has never done him wrong, all she wanted was his love. He looked to Hiruzen how could I do anything less? I have received a few complaints Sakura's mother shouted it seems that this brat has been tormenting my daughter and Sasuke-sama with death threats since their first C-rank mission. I have Naruto admitted. See another civilian shouted kill the. Silenced Tsume shouted please explain Naruto-kun. The Uchiha demanded my secrets and then Sakura attacked me when I refused. Naruto answered I was within my rights to defend myself as I see fit. It was true. Where did you learn these techniques from Inoichi asked I was under the impression that Kakashi was focused on the Uchiha. I was trained by the Ice Queens of Konoha Naruto answered blankly. There have been accusations that your relationship with them have the Nara clan head looked for the right words troublesome. They were my Heims Naruto admitted they were everything to me. You say that in past tense the Nara stated what happened. Your son he looked at Tsume and your daughter to Inoichi. Naruto-san Inoichi called I would like to apologize for my daughter. Naruto-kun Tsume spoke I must apologize for my son and daughter as well. I already got even with him Naruto stated to Tsume before turning to Inoichi, she helped show me who I was dealing with. He smiled happily, now I have my new Heims. Yes, your Haim Sakura stated we believe that they should be given to the Uchiha the civilians agreed, we can interrogate them for all they know and. You will do nothing Naruto stated in a tone that could melt ice if you do, I will make leave you as nothing more than a broken husk. Listen here demon. I am no demon Naruto stated one of my Heims may be one, but I was not lucky enough he sighed, I was born a simple human. What do you mean by that? The Nara clan head asked on edge, as was everyone else. My Kitsu Haim Naruto answered is the QB herself. Impossible one civilian shouted you are the QB. I've had enough of this the fox spoke scaring the council Naruto-kun is not me, the fox jumped and took a human form, I am the QB, any questions? No way are you the QB, a stupid civilian, shouted your A-woman. Everyone knows that the 9 demons are genderless, many agreed, or at least male. Fewer agreed. I see, she stated Naruto. Go right ahead, my Haim, Naruto encouraged. QB walked toward the man and grabbed him by the neck. In a flashy display, her body was engulfed in a bright flame. Once the fire dispersed, the council and Hokage held their breath. Behind her flowed 9 glorious tails, and on her head, 2 fox-like ears. She raised a claw-like nail. Like Naruto, she stated, my chakra is toxic. A claw began glowing red, but mine is more potent. She waved it in his face. If I scratch you with this, then that part will erode away. She smirked. Should I do it? What part should it be? QB-san, the Hokage called. We need some of the civilian council alive. Can I still kill this guy? She asked. No, he answered. Dropping the man, she faced Naruto. We're going to set the training field up for your new sword style. With a kiss, she was off. New style? Sue asked, trying to be friendly. I was told you were training in 2 styles. She spoke 3 already. You must. Sum-san, I know what you're trying to do, Naruto stated. I won't seek revenge on your daughter. What about my son? She asked. Or mine? Hiruzen asked. And my daughter, Naruto? Inoichi asked. Naruto didn't answer. What's this new one? Danzo asked. It must be good if you let Orochimaru go. Danzo, the Hokage, growled. How did he know what happened? Before he could ask, Sakura spoke. You let an S-rank enemy of the Leaf escape. Sakura shouted, more than asked, over a simple scroll. Many were just as angered. What sword style could be worth that? My mother's, he answered calmly, a little too calmly. Naruto Hiruzen called. Stay calm. I am calm, Naruto answered. Your mother? Sakura asked. What 2-bit horse spread her legs to give birth to you? Instead of getting angry like many expected, he put on a smile. The same smile he wore while fighting Neji. Only the shinobi were able to notice it. Naruto Sarutobi called. I'm calm, Naruto repeated. I'm like the honey badger, he stated. I don't give a shit. Well, that's. But Naruto continued. If I hear anyone badmouth my mother, the room became cold. I'll hunt you assholes down and feed you your own genitals. They backed up and fried. I don't care if your mother's there, your grandmother, innocent bystanders, little kids, babysitters, bill collectors. I leave the whole area with cold fear and hot with piss, if I have to. Do you know why? Silence. Because I just. Don't. Give. A fuck. You've been taking lessons from Tayuya, haven't you? Hiruzen asked. He wouldn't meet the Hokage's gaze. Naruto Tsume spoke. Who is your mother? She had an idea. Kushina Uzumaki, he answered. I'm sure you've heard of her. The entire council went silent. They all knew who Kushina was. She was one of the most skilled and powerful kunoichi in history. Her skill with the sword was said to have matched the 7 swordsmen of the mist. If she was alive, then many would have believed her equal to the Sannin themselves. Naruto, with that skill, many shuddered at the very thought alone. As her son Hiruzen spoke, he will inherit everything of hers. He glared at the council. That means, even the Uzumaki bank account. Naruto Tsume spoke. I was very close friends with Kushina. I could tell you about her. I would like that. He gave her a sincere smile. We shouldn't allow him that style, someone shouted. What if he seeks revenge? If you hadn't wronged me, then you have nothing to fear. Naruto stated. Are you saying that you've wronged me? Silence. Hokage-sama, Naruto spoke in a mocking tone. You still haven't told me why you tried to deny me my mother's style. I was trying to protect you. The Hokage spoke. I call bullshit, Naruto stated. I was beaten and tortured so many times that only a ninja can cause me pain. He growled. You call that protection? It was for your own good. He tried to reason. Your mother made a lot of enemies. If I had her style, I could have protected myself, Naruto stated. I would have done everything to master her style. Exactly, the Hokage snapped. You would have, that's the problem. He reasoned that would have gained too much attention from her enemies in and out of the village. He calmed himself. You probably would have been used as a political tool or ended up like Sasuke Uchiha. It's only because of the Uchiha part I'm not going off the deep end. Naruto, the Aburum clan head, spoke. How were you able to use the Izanagi? He asked. It's an Uchiha bloodline technique. My bloodline gives me the ability to use any Genjutsu, Naruto answered. I can actually collect fear and become more powerful without limit. Lies, Kushina never had a bloodline. Mothers aren't the only ones that can pass on a bloodline, Naruto stated. I've never heard of that bloodline, the Nara spoke. You wouldn't have, Naruto stated. I am the second human to possess it. He smiled at the council. It was given to me by Kaiu-chan. That demon can give bloodlines. Sakura shouted. We should make her. Make her what, Haruno? Naruto asked. Make her what? She was silenced under his blindfolded gaze. Everyone went silent at the intense hatred in his voice. Have you forgotten who my Haim is? She is the QB. They all paled. If she were to attack, then Konoha would be screwed and I'd be behind her all the way. But she's the reason why you're hated, one of the elders spoke. This earned her a glare. No, she isn't, Naruto stated. I am hated because people blamed me for her actions. They looked away. They couldn't see the difference between the kunai and the scroll. Why are you defending her? A civilian asked. She's unholy. Unholy you say? Naruto asked. He opened his jacket and ripped his shirt. It didn't show skin. Instead it showed an endless abyss of horrors even dreams couldn't make. The screams of terror that filled the room would forever be remembered. Even the ever-stoic Hyuga and Aburam clan-headed couldn't keep silent. Danzo and Hiruzen were no different either. Their screams mixed well with the others as they cried out for their moms to make the bad things go away. Not soon enough, Naruto closed his cloths. He sealed the nightmare away. For now. Anything else? Naruto asked. The horror. Danzo wailed. The horror. Where does your food go? The Hyuga asked. It explains the unholy amount of ramen he eats. Hiruzen stated. Unholy? Naruto asked. The nightmare had returned. Stop that. Hiruzen ordered. I can't take much more of this. The nightmare was gone. The council stared at Naruto, too afraid to speak. Naruto, could you show us the bloodline? What do you want to see? Naruto asked. I could show you wonders only seen in your dreams or horrors of your worst nightmare. He offered. I could give you whatever you want or take it away. Naruto. Hiruzen asked. Could you show a? I got it, he shouted, cutting the Hokage off. Old man, after this you can consider yourself forgiven. Naruto undid his blindfold and gazed into Hiruzen's eyes. He found what he was searching for. I am sorry. Monkey-kun, a sweet voice called. The entire council turned to the voice and gasped at the sight. A woman. She was beautiful in a motherly way. She looked kind, but had a firm gaze in her eyes. Take her away, Hiruzen pleaded. I beg you, Naruto, please, take her away. Naruto knew that whoever this woman was, she was precious to him. He loved to mess with a person's fear, never their heart. I'm sorry, Naruto repeated. Who is she? You beast, Sakura shouted. That is Bawako Sarutobi, she stated, late wife of the third Hokage. I want to know, Monkey-kun, Bawako spoke. Why did I have to die among strangers? Where were you when I was being killed? She whispered. I called for you, you didn't come to save me. She sobbed. You promised to always protect me. You never needed protection, he spoke through tears. You were a strong woman. He stood straight. You never feared death, you were a kunoichi, a soldier. You're damn right I was, she spoke in a tone only he knew, so stop sulking and be who you were. She ordered. You're the Hokage, not some spineless fool, so act like it. Yes dear. And like that she was gone. Naruto. Hiruzen spoke. I believe it's time to get down to our last bit of business. He should be put on the crowd, Danzo stated. I accept, Naruto spoke, on the conditions that I choose my wives. Done. Naruto. Sarutobi spoke. You are hereby promoted to Chunin. Only Chunin? Naruto asked. I would have pushed for Jounin, but you need more experience. Fine, I know when I'm beaten. And lastly, Hiruzen spoke. I am retiring, I've been at this too long. He admitted, earning a gasp. It's time I give the position up. I've decided to give it to my old student. Jiraiya, someone asked. No. The female shouted. Don't worry ladies, Naruto soothed. He won't be peeking anytime soon. Naruto. Sarutobi spoke. What did you do to my student? I caught him peeking on my hymes, Naruto stated. I had to punish him. I am sending Jiraiya Naruto to retrieve Tsunade. Hiruzen spoke. She will be given the title. You're sending a Genin. Junin, Naruto corrected. A Chunin that seduced two foreign kunoichi and now possesses two powerful weapons. Hiruzen spoke. Beat the one-tailed demon after a match with a true Hyuga prodigy. He continued. Beat Orochimaru and his elite shinobi, along with two of the reanimated Hokages. He looked at the council all in the time span of a single hour. They stayed silent. What if she doesn't come willingly? Naruto asked. I leave it in your capable hands. Hiruzen spoke. Dismissed. Come on, Tsum-chan, Naruto spoke. I want to hear about my mom, say over ramen. But I hate ramen. Dodge. Naruto tackled her out of the way as a thin snake-like object moved toward her. What is that? Someone asked. You shouldn't have insulted Ramen, Naruto stated. Now it's out for revenge. Fill it with fire. You can't kill Ramen, Naruto stated. Then what do we do? Dodge. And dodge they did. Chapter end. So how was the story? I hope you like it. And if you like it, share this story with your friends and like the video too. And don't forget to subscribe our channel for daily awesome fanfiction. Okay, it's time for me to go. Bye bye.